Morning all. Meghan Markle has been labelled a narcissist by the media on numerous occasions. I'm fascinated to know what characteristics she displays that demonstrate narcissism. There is a lot of discussion that Harry is weak, but interestingly it appears those with narcissistic tendencies don't often target weak or timid people. They are drawn to those with power, influence, or other traits they admire. So when we think about it, this makes a lot of sense. Narcissists generally are about promoting themselves, making themselves feel good about themselves, and that can be through an association or a power, so destroying somebody or destroying others or putting others down to make yourself in a better place. Now, whilst I think Harry is in quite a weak position now and is displaying some signs that we can see through the media, which of course is not the whole picture, of being very subservient and giving way to Meghan a lot of the time. I'm not sure he really started off like this. If we think about how he was before Meghan, and you can see that in one of my other videos, is that he was actually in quite a good position. He had the Royal Foundation with Kate and William. He had his Invictus Games. He had his charities. The whole thing about the death of his mum, of course, was always in the background, but it wasn't a central thing to him then. I know they discussed it for the Royal Foundation to try and show empathy with others that were going through difficult times, but it didn't appear all-consuming then. That has come out later. That has come out with his association with Meghan. And I suspect, subtly or more directly, as a way to put him down, to control him, to make him feel vulnerable, so she can then supersede. Now, this is all very subtle. This is not, and from experience, this is very insidious. You would not immediately think that somebody is trying to control you or to make you feel smaller or to put you down. It doesn't really work like that. She would have gone in first of all with supporting him and loving what he loves and mirroring a lot of the time, trying to make that really strong connection. There may have been a connection between them, there's no doubt about that, but with Meghan it appears that this always had another plan, perhaps intentionally or non-intentionally, but because of her personality this was only going to go one way. So one of the first traits I've examined is how narcissists draw attention to themselves. They are the most important person in the room. They are the most learned. They are the most beautiful. They are the ones that everybody should be looking to in whichever field this is. And of course, people with these traits stretch across every field of life. And people that are empaths, so effectively the opposite end to the narcissist, find them so difficult to deal with because it doesn't come naturally to others to want to push themselves forward or make themselves the sort of iconic figure in the room. But the narcissist will want to continually draw attention to themselves. And interestingly, we can see that in a lot of Meghan's character. She will always put herself front and centre. And you can see that in one of my other videos where she will always want to shake hands first. She will want to guide, she will want to lead. But more than that, we know that she continually wants to trump any message that's put out by the royal family, who she sees, I suspect, as her sort of number one thing to topple off the pile right now. They can also be quite hostile and aggressive when their positive views are thwarted. So anything she puts out that's positive in her eyes, others would say controlling and looking for the limelight, she would go on the offensive. So she would try and either undermine what's being said by the other people, or she would try and put out something more charitable, more caring, more loving. Look at me, they're doing it, I'm doing it better. It seems bizarre, but many papers seem to suggest that narcissists actually have quite a low self-esteem. From her appearance, sorry, by the way, if you can hear my dog snoring in the background, he's decided to sit next to me and go to sleep. It seems from her appearance that she is the most confident person in the room. But often that's very surface. That's a real front, because they continually feel like they have to push themselves up and make themselves the best. And their anxiety levels will heighten when they don't get it right, when it all doesn't go to plan, and you see lots of scrabbling to try and either rectify or push out that we are still, or I am still amazing message. You can see that in some of the royal protocol, for instance, when she interrupted the formal occasion of one of Charles's investitures, and they got it wrong. And you could see that she just wasn't, that confidence was slipping. She was trying to hold it together, but actually the fact that she couldn't join in, she couldn't be the centre of attention, was a real struggle. And I think perhaps we saw a little bit of the real Meghan Markle there, where she was in a little bit of panic mode, that she'd pushed herself forward and Prince Charles had very deftly pushed her back down. Another characteristic is that rules don't apply. So I know in the different character types, she would be one of the stronger characters, but there's also a distinct element of rule breaking there. Small, but consistent. Almost as though this is how you do it, but I can do it better. We saw that with the tiara that she wanted to wear, that she didn't get to wear on her wedding day, and the Queen very clearly put her foot down about what she couldn't have. I found it fascinating that she decided to accept the tiara that the Queen had given her, rather than go for a copy or a similar one to the one she wanted. Obviously she couldn't have the diamonds in the original tiara, but I found that really interesting. So it was important to her that she used something that belonged to the royal family more than the overall look, I would suggest. Let me know what you think about that. I think it was more important to her that she was seen to be using their jewels than it was, no, actually, I understand that I can't have that tiara, but I really want this particular look, which wasn't, as I'm aware, the green emeralds originally. So that was a change for her. She made a change because she was determined to use the royal jewels, which I found quite interesting. And perhaps there you see that confidence slip slightly. I need to use something of theirs, regardless of, or what you perhaps would consider hers now, I don't know, regardless if I have to change my plan. We also see this with the tights, and I think that's quite interesting, that Americans would call them pantyhose, I think. So it's very important in the royal family that they wear sort of a very nude tight, so that it just I suspect it's one of those unwritten things. It looks smart, It doesn't draw attention. It keeps everything sort of in a formal way. It's perhaps one would see it as a petty rule, but it's a rule, and rather like nude nail varnish, the idea is you're not a celebrity in the royal family. You are royal. You are more than that. You do not have to show off by your amazing nails or wearing something particularly garish tights or coloured tights or whatever. It's just those very subtle things. It's an institution at the end of the day, and yes, there are lots about it that it's very dinosaurish, but it is. And you want to join it, you want to marry into it, that's what you have to do. But she very much made a point. She knew what she was doing, what she was supposed to wear. She's got enough courtiers around her that would have told her that. She decided not to. She decided to, or perhaps thought that she could change. She could change it. She could modernise it. She could go in and be this figure that she wanted to be, and not actually a bit of a second class royal and not happy with her lot. And the last of the 5 traits that I want to concentrate on, although of course there are many more and we'll probably go back to this, is narcissists do not tend to be easily coached. Why would they be coached? They know best. At the end of the day, they are the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most articulate in the room. And unfortunately, that is a trait that has really gone against her, because if she could have just kept up with a few things, if she could have just blended in a little bit more subtly, she perhaps could have made a significant difference to the royal family. But unfortunately, that ego just got the better of her. She couldn't contain it. She couldn't just toe the line and move slowly, rather like a continent moving. The royal family moves slowly over time. Nothing is going to come in and just suddenly change it up. Also, I think it dawned on her pretty quickly that although she was marrying a prince of the realm, he was too low down the list to be important enough for her to be able to make significant differences. And she obviously had no intention of changing the way she was or how she did things, which is a shame, because actually perhaps she could have made a significant difference to the royal family. And in another situation she may well have been able to do, but her character was just too much. Her need to be on top, her need to be right, her need to be number one overwhelmed everything. So let me know your thoughts. I really don't think Harry was that weak when she first met him, and I think if he had been, she wouldn't have been, I was going to say attracted, found him useful. What she saw in him was position and power and notoriety and fame, and ultimately she thought celebrity. I think she was wrong. I think she's played it badly. But I think that's what she originally thought, and I think Harry wasn't weak to begin with. It's very easy to be taken in by that sort of character, and she picked up on something in him that she could use, and then slowly over time that does become a vulnerability and a weakness. But at the start, I think what she saw was a way in to power and fame. And I guess to some extent she's done that, except that I think she's about to destroy it all. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.